Entertainment Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 4, and my thoughts on this episode. I am one of two minds about this episode. I enjoyed it, but it was boring. Now, that's going to be a bit confusing to some people. How is something boring but enjoyable at the same time? I enjoyed the concept of the episode. I enjoyed the character development. I mean, there's one thing you can't say about Strange New Worlds, and that is it doesn't give all the characters on the bridge enough, storytelling, or at least enough story, because they do. And I think that's a massive plus to this series, because in Discovery, I still have literally no idea most of that cast's name. But in this show, I know most of them. I know La'an, I know Uhura, I know, Pike, Spock, Erica, Anya, Una, sorry. Yeah, so this show gives every character enough story. They don't just leave in the background and just let them say like 2 words a fucking episode. So that is a big plus for me for this show. Again, that is still one of the biggest mistakes Discovery has done. They still haven't introduced the majority of the fucking cast to us. We still literally have, I think the majority of us who bother to watch that shit don't know the majority of the fucking cast. But anyway, that's Discovery. Let's talk about Strange New Worlds. But the episode as a whole, there are problems. There are things that kind of did seem a bit stupid. Like Spock's decision not to do something that he should have done. I don't know why he didn't do it, but ridiculous. But the core concept of the show, the episode, about I can't say it yet. The core part of the episode is what I kind of enjoyed. I also kind of liked the bad guy. Even though the bad guy is kind of missing for most of the episode, I just kind of enjoyed that kind of story. Like, what if a Starfleet officer did that? I would have liked to have seen a bit more detail of that in this episode, but we didn't really get it. But again, I get it. For me, the fact I'm not pissed off after watching Strange New Worlds after the last 3 weeks, that's a plus to me. So, let's get into the spoilers. But I will say one thing about this episode. The core concept has been done literally a bunch of times by other Star Trek shows, and they all did better. Sorry, they have done this concept before. They did it 10 times better. And would I watch this episode again? Probably not. I'm just being honest. I did enjoy the episode, but it is a bit slow, and I don't think I'm going to bother watching it again. But yeah, I'm just happy I'm not pissed off right now after just watching the episode. So that to me is just something to walk away with, like a silver lining. Episode was okay. It didn't piss me off, but I'm probably not going to watch it again. So let's get into what my score is going to be for this. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to give it a 6. I'll be fair. A 6. A 6 out of 10. And yeah. Let's get on with the spoiler section. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So the episode starts off with Pike cooking his girlfriend a meal. I kind of getting a bit sick of Pike being the chef, because I kind of feel like the writers are really trying to put him in the female role. Now, to everybody who's going to get pissed at me saying that, I'm not saying that women have to be in the kitchen for most of their lives, but it is kind of weird that Pike seems to be always cooking when his girlfriend comes over. It's just kind of like, does she ever cook? It's a bit weird. Anyway, so Pike's cooking up meal for his girlfriend, because both their ships are kind of on a mission with each other to do like some sort of move or some sort of oh no, that's what they're doing. They're charting with the USS Cayuga, which is Pike's girlfriend's ship. So whilst they're charting the system, Pike's making a dinner for them. She comes over, all happy to see him, brings him a gift, some necklace that was from a different species that used to, this necklace is supposed to be something to give him luck, because that's what this species believed in, whatever. So, but then she gets a call whilst Pike's making dinner, and she's given bad news. And when she tells Pike the bad news, which is she has not been given the promotion that she was apparently guaranteed on getting, and Pike seems to blame himself because of the trial, and the fact doesn't look like the Federation have forgot her part in the trial, and so Pike's blaming himself. Now, what I don't like about this episode is men have been in this situation before, when a woman is in a kind of bad mood or she's gotten bad news, and the one thing you never do is break up with your girlfriend or tell your girlfriend at that point, we need a break. And it was just really like, because that's what Pike did. As soon as he gets the bad news, Pike's like, oh, I blame myself, it's my fault because of the trial. Maybe we should take some time apart so I don't damage your career. Now, I can't really believe any man would be that stupid to say it then. Maybe in a week or a month you would consider doing that. Not when your girlfriend gets bad news at that exact second. Or at least at that same time. It was so dumb. It's like, no man is that stupid. Well, maybe, but for God's sake, you're a Starfleet captain. How can you be that stupid and tell your girlfriend, who has literally lost a very good job, becoming a Commodore in the Federation fleet, and tell her you want a break? That's just... Why don't you stick a gun in her mouth, Pike, and shoot her? That might even be better, because that is just such a dumb decision. But that pisses her off, basically, and she storms out. Well, doesn't storm out of the room, but pretty much leaves, and Pike knows that he's kind of fucked up. Then Anya, signals to Pike that he needs to get to the bridge because Starfleet are sending them on a mission to Rigel 7. So Pike leaves his room where, he's pretty much realised he's fucked up with his girlfriend, and heads to the meeting room where the crew are at, and Anya tells him about the mission that Starfleet's sending them on to Rigel 7. So apparently, whilst the Enterprise was off on its 5-year mission, they were, studying planets, and Rigel 7 was one of them, and Pike led a mission to study the indigenous people on the planet, the, what are they? Kala, or Kayla. By the way, it sounds very similar to Kalon. Kala, Kalon. That did annoy me as well. It's like, okay, you kind of got to... It doesn't have to be... I'm not saying it's exactly the same. I'm just saying they do sound alike. Kala, Kalon. Oh no, it's not Starfleet, is it? That's fucking Orville. Kalon. Oh. Well. Never mind then, that's my fucking fault. Anyway, so yeah, Pike went on a mission to study the Karlan, not Kalon. Sorry, got Kalon in the mind now because they sound so similar. Anyway, the Kala, and the mission went pretty bad. 3 of his crew were killed when the warrior race on the planet, or the warrior caste on the planet, went after them. 3 crewmen were killed, and Spark was badly injured, and they escaped the planet, and it looks like some of their equipment got captured by the locals, and now they have to find out how bad the contamination of the people's culture, well, how bad has it affected their culture, basically. So Pike's being sent on a mission by Starfleet to fix his mess, basically, because Pike realizes that Starfleet are still pissed off at him, and they're pretty much just going to send him on ship missions. Even though, well, that's what he says, like, this is punishment, but I was kind of just thinking, like, Pike, you fucked up, and Starfleet are sending you to clean your mess. I kind of think it's a fair thing, you know, you fucked up, you clean your mess. Kind of what you should be doing. So Pike, you know, tells the crew what the plan is, basically. So it's going to be Pike, the Doctor, and La'an, who are going to go down to the planet to find out how bad the contamination is and fix the problem. And Anna is going to stay on and command the ship. Oh, and he was also going to take Erica on the mission, but it turns out Spock finds out information about the asteroid field that the Enterprise is flying around, and apparently they need their best pilot to pilot the Enterprise and not pilot the shuttle. So Erica gets left behind, and she's not exactly happy about it, and when Spock tries to comfort her, she just says, Spock, you should know when to leave people alone. And you know, we get the annoying Spock shit, which is to be funny at stupid points, or at least that's supposed to be a joke. Like, I'm trying to get better. It's just I don't need that. I don't need Spock to be like that. Seriously, stop doing that with Spock. Ugh. You never got that in the original series about Spock having to change himself. We never had that. He was perfectly fine being who he was. Spock, the Vulcan. No fucking emotions. No needing to be apologetic to every fucking person on the ship. Yet in this show, in this series, that's all he ever does. I'm sorry for being Vulcan. I'm sorry I don't give a shit about my emotions. It's like, Jesus Christ. That is not the character of Spock. I'm getting really sick of it. Anyway. So, Erica's left behind to pilot the Enterprise. So, Pike goes with the away team, which is just the Doctor, him, and La'an. They land on the planet, and then Pike tells them about the situation with their equipment. Because Pike doesn't want to risk any more contamination, they're going to be using the locals' equipment and not their own. So, I mean, it does bring into the question of why the fuck didn't you just do that in the first place, Pike, and then there wouldn't really be any contamination. Or at least it wouldn't be this bad. Okay, I mean, I thought that was the rules of away teams when you're studying, you know, indigenous people. Like, anyway, let's not get into that. So, Pike tells them about the situation. Then La'an is not really happy about this because she is head of security. She'd rather have a phaser than a knife or something. But she kind of has to accept what the mission is, and she just gets on with it. But at the same moment, she starts hearing ringing in her ears. And whilst Pike is explaining some other things, we then cut to the next scene where they have left the shuttle and it's been 6 hours of them walking. And Anya just wakes back up. And she doesn't realise where she is. Something's happened to her brain. And then Pike starts to be very concerned about it. Even the Doctor is as well. But they've already arrived at the castle where... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the castle. Yeah, because back in the previous meeting, the pictures that Starfleet sent back to the Enterprise about the Kalar planet, you kind of saw a Federation symbol in the garden, and that's how they know there's a lot of contamination on the planet, because they're using the Federation symbol. Anyway, back to the planet. So they find a ridge. They see the castle they need to get to, the one with the garden with the Federation symbol. And then Pike sees that the guards aren't just armed with swords, they're armed with Federation rifles. So that is a question. How the hell did they get so many rifles? I mean, did Pike's men just throw down their weapons and leg it? That, again, they don't really explain that. They explain a little bit, but not to the point where I would actually think it's a decent explanation of why there's an army of Kalars with fucking all of them having phaser rifles. Again, it's an away mission, 5 people, yet there's about 20 rifles. It's like, how the hell does that happen? Anyway. But before they can do anything, I mean, Pike tries to set up a plan, but then the doctor tells him, yeah, no point, there's a bunch of Kalar coming up with a bunch of phaser rifles. And whilst Pike tries to pretend, yeah, we're your people, we're, you know, from a different village or some shit, the lead, Carla, just fucking says, yeah, we know you're from Starfleet, the boss wants to see you, basically. And then the doctor starts hearing ringing in his ears, and then he wakes up whilst they're being walked to the leader of the Carla. And it turns out the leader of the Carla is... what was his name again? Zach. One of the people who died on the away mission, or at least apparently died. Now, Pike's kind of a little bit like happy and surprised at the same time. He then apologises to Zach, like, I thought you got killed on the planet. If you'd know you're still alive, he would have come back for you. But it looks like Zach's pretty pissed off because he got left behind on a planet that seems to be fucking up people's mind. So he wants revenge on Pike. Now, what I kind of think's a bit weird is how the fuck did this guy become leader of the Kalars? I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, wasn't there a leader before? Did he work with the leader? They don't really explain that. And I get some people going to say this. Well, he gave them better technology, or he, you know, bribed certain people. We didn't really get that explained. You can't just say because he knows how to make a bunch of phaser rifles. By the way, don't explain that at all. So, I mean, this episode is kind of still weird. Like, he was forgetting who he was, and then he got into the castle, then remembered, and then somehow became a leader of the Kalar. I'm sorry, it just... yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more explanation than the guy knows future technology. Okay, that wouldn't just help. Again, I could go back 1,000 years in the fucking past. Doesn't mean I could take over England or fucking wherever. Like, you can't just say that. You kind of got to explain it. Like, did he do a deal? Did he marry the bloody princess? Who fucking knows? But again, a bit more explanation, please. So yeah, Zach's pissed off, wants to get revenge on Pike for leaving him on this shithole planet, basically, and then tells them, yeah, are you getting the ringing in your ears yet? And that kind of worries Lana, because she has gotten it, and so is the doctor. And Pike, who hasn't got it yet, is kind of like, what do you mean ringing? And he pretty much explains, well, basically, you're on a planet where you're going to forget who you are, and you're going to pretty much be tortured by that fact. So he then tells his men to put Pike and the other two in a cage where he's going to watch them suffer the mental loss. And this is another problem of the episode. He says he wants to watch them suffer, and he knows how dangerous they are, because they are still Federation people. I mean, they're still Starfleet. Doesn't put guards on them, or at least doesn't put that many guards on them. Just leaves them in the cage, and does it. Again, you don't really seem to see this guy that much in the episode. This Zach guy, he's in about 5-6 minutes of the episode. Again, this guy's supposed to want to hate Pike. He wants to see him tortured. But he just leaves him in a cage. and then allows his men to take them and, go mix with the locals. Like, how the hell did... Wouldn't you be worried that he might regain a bit of his memory? Or, as a Starfleet fucking officer, lead a fucking rebellion against you? I mean, that is just so bloody stupid. Like, oh... Okay, there's a lot more problems to this episode than I thought. Yes, that guy is a fucking moron. Unbelievable. But yeah, back in the cage, they're all literally forgetting who they are. Pike tries to see if La'an is okay because he's woke back up because he started hearing a ringing in his ears before he got taken to the cage, and then he wakes up in the cage, and La'an she's pretty much forgot who she is, and so is the Doctor. He's forgot who he is too. And then when Pike tries to remember who put them in the cage, he's completely forgot who he is as well. And then they basically get taken by the guards to go work in the labour yard or something with the other prisoners, and then you get the lead prisoner. I didn't catch his name, and he seems to know what they're going through, tells them to center themselves, says to them they need to focus on the Tolem or the Telem, some sort of bloody object they need to focus on. Sorry, totem, that's what it is, totem. So he's telling them to focus on the totem, to focus on themselves, try to center themselves, and the words that came out of his mouth with that next, be your truth, or know your truth. And that was just like, come on. I didn't remember never hearing that word, be your truth. I seem to hear it so much now. Ah, oh, fuck off. I don't care about your truth. I don't need that sentence in my life. Fuck off. Anyway, so this guy, I think his name's Luke, gets them up, talks to the guards, says to the guards, listen, they're obviously struggling with the forgetting. They just need to work and maybe they'll be better. And he helps them out of the cage. They go off and do some work. We go back up to the Enterprise, where the Enterprise apparently starts to suffer the same thing as the away team. They start forgetting stuff, and Uhura is the first to start forgetting. Apparently when Una told her to contact Starfleet or send them a report to Starfleet, she did. That's when she lost the memory, and when Uhura asks Una, did she do the report? Turns out she didn't. So, and that report was needed like 2 hours ago. And so, yeah, she's been 2 hours under the forgetting, whatever the fuck it's called. So she gets sent to sick bay, and Erica asks to go with her to sick bay to make sure she gets there. So she takes her to sick bay. The nurse is there. I forgot her name, sorry. And she's, yeah, what happened to you? She tells her what's happened. She forgot. She can't remember the last 2 hours. And then when she does a scan of the brain, turns out something is blocking her brain from remembering certain things. And she then explains how bad this is. Basically, a person who's going through the forgetting will forget who they are, what they do, and family members and loved ones. That's what the forgetting seems to affect. But from the base level, they can still, like, if it's a doctor, they can still remember how to do they can still remember how to heal people. If you're a pilot, you can still remember the basics of piloting. And so basically, you'll forget who you are. You could just do everything normally. It's just you wouldn't know who you are. And that's basically what the forgetting does. So she tells Uhura to take some time off and get on with just getting better. Then Spock tells contacts sickbay and tells her there's about 6 other crewmen in sickbay who've forgotten who they are, or at least are suffering from the same conditions as Uhura. So, yeah, the Enterprise is definitely affected by what's ever on the planet. Back on the planet, you see Pike doing some labouring work with the Doctor and La'an, and he's starting to figure out stuff like he's not done the field work before because of his hands. And when Luke tries to explain, the whole thing to them, it's like, we are the work hands. We do all this stuff for the people in the castle who are the rememberers. I think that's what he said. But Pike is still trying to figure out who he is because he knows he shouldn't be here. He knows there's something wrong. So does La'an. So does the Doctor. Then the guards are kind of being twats because they don't think they're working hard enough. One tries to attack Pike, but Pike's able to kind of fend him off. Then another guard gets involved. Then La'an gets involved. There's a big fight, and then La'an takes out one guard, but one other guard stabs her, and seriously. So the Doctor runs over, basically doesn't know who he is, but knows the basics of, medical care to give her to stop the bleeding. And then, as they've knocked out all the guards around them, Luke tells them they need to go somewhere safe, and he has a place nearby that they can run to. So they head over there. They get to his tent thing, and we see the totem. And that's pretty much what explains the whole situation they're in. So basically, there are 2 caste system: the rememberers and the forgetters, the workers and the people who remember so that they can make a better future for the workers. I mean, you could kind of say this is pretty much a play on maybe society, but I'm not going to go into that. I don't think it's woke. I'm not going to say it's woke. I mean, it was on the cusp, I think, of being woke. If they had said, let's not talk about that, it wasn't woke. That's all I'm going to say. It wasn't woke. So the totem, that's what apparently explains. So basically, Pike has got it into his head that there's something in the castle that's keeping his and all the others' memories in. And they now need to break into the castle and find the box and open it and free up everybody's memories, basically. So that's the plan. La'an is kind of still struggling. Luke kind of says this is a good thing for her. As she's dying, she won't have to suffer the loss of people. She can die not knowing who she is or not knowing she has any loved ones and just die in peace. And apparently that's a good thing. Okay, Luke, you are a very depressing motherfucker. Jesus. But Pike pretty much says, no, I'm not going to let my friend die like that. Or at least that's what I think she is to me. That's because I'm listening to my emotions. You get a lot of that. Apparently, the memories are affected, but your emotions aren't. So if you love a person or you care about a person, your emotions are still working for that person, even though you apparently forgot who they are. That kind of doesn't really make sense. So if you forgot who they are, how would you still have emotions to them? I don't know. But anyway, so the plan is get into the castle, open the box, and get back their memories. And so the Doctor and Pike head off to do that. We go back on the Enterprise, where pretty much the entire crew has forgot who the fuck they are. And Erica, who's on the Enterprise for a very important reason, because that's why Spock kept her back, because of the asteroids. They need to keep navigating the Enterprise through the asteroid field, and Spock did have a plan, which was to make them all keep a pad with them, with their, name and their position. but apparently the forgetful stuff affects them so they can't read anymore. I don't think that makes sense, because you can basically I'm not saying you can remember who you are, but if you basically remember like how to operate on not operate, but how to operate things or how to use things, how would you forget about reading? That's a bit odd to me, because they don't explain that. They just say, well, when Spark forgets who he is and looks down at his pad, he can't read. And that just feels stupid. It's like, that's a basic thing. Like, I mean, we know of people forgetting who they are, but they can still read. You really do need to explain that, because I kind of think they were trying to use that to make Spark, not be the saviour of the episode, let's just say. And just to make him look dumb again. Again! Making Spark look dumb. I don't get it. What is your problem with Spark, writers of Strange New Worlds? And how does this affect Spark? You don't also explain that either. Like, don't Vulcans have, like, stronger brains than humans because of their, cutting themselves off from emotions? You kind of needed it to explain how this can affect both races. I kind of think you can't just say, this forgetful virus affects everybody. That things don't work that way. And in Star Trek, they would have explained this. If it affects Spock, they would have explained how. But they didn't. So I might have to put this down a point. I might have to put it down to a 5, because I am picking up a bit too many problems now. But anyway, so Erica has pretty much forgot who she is. She starts to panic on the bridge and then pretty much legs it back to her room. So the Enterprise is now being piloted by nobody. And when she gets on the elevator, there's also one other problem with this episode. The Enterprise is too technical. I think it's got too much technology. Now what I'm saying is, I think the computer feels like it's from Next Generation, not the original series. Even though this series is set before original series. So I'm going to say the technology feels a bit too updated for this time period. So, yeah. Because you've got you've got Erica asking the computer for information, asking the computer for directions to a room. I don't remember the original series, the computer being that used, if I'm being honest. Well, I'm actually being honest. If I'm, remembering rightly. So, yeah, I think the computers need a bit more dumbing down. I don't think they need to be used that much. Because, again, this is supposed to be before the original series, not Next Generation. But, yeah, she gets to a room, struggles and panics because the ship's getting hit by a shitload of rocks. Then, basically does something that Spark should have had the crew do, which is ask the computer to tell her who she is, and the computer tells her, you're the pilot of the ship, and she realises, oh shit, I should be on the bridge piloting the ship. So she runs back up to the bridge. Spark's like, what are you doing back here? She's like, well, she's the pilot, she needs to fly the ship, and because she hasn't forgot the basics of piloting, or at least her piloting, she pilots the ship through the asteroid fields, blows through an asteroid, and saves the Enterprise. Yay! It wasn't a bad scene. I just kind of think I would have liked to. Now you know what? It's an okay scene. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's an okay scene. So yeah, she saved the Enterprise, and yeah, again, credit to the show. They have kept us. They've shown us more of the characters. They've given each character their own part of the episode. They're just not in the background. That's great. I'm giving the episode credit for that. Because that is one thing I hate from Discovery. The fact the crew barely get any story. It's just Michael Burnham every fucking episode. Oh, and Tilly sometimes. Oh, and the two gay twats. That's the way they get. We only get those 4 characters. Oh, and tall guy, I forgot his name. Only those 5 characters we know. Just dumb. Anyway. So the Enterprise is saved. Back on the planet, the Doctor and Pike get through the guards of the castle, but the Doctor gets hit in the leg, so he's left. Well, Pike has to leave him behind to hold off the Kala guards, whilst he goes in there to free their memories from the box. He then gets into a shootout with what's his name again? Zach. Again, yeah, Zach is barely in this episode. It's pretty stupid not to have him in this episode. Yeah, has a gunfight with Zach. Pike picks up a pan to block a phaser bolt from Zach. I kind of think that's stupid. A phaser bolt could go through a pan, Pike. That's pretty dumb. And they have a bit of a fight with each other, and Pike gets the upper hand, grabs the phaser, starts demanding. Zach tells him where the box is with all the memories, and Zach starts taking the piss out of him, like, you believe that fairy tale, it's obviously not real. Then Pike pretty much points the phaser at him and prepares to shoot, but when Zach apologises and says he's sorry, and the fact that yes, it's a fairy tale, but that's not what the fairy tale is, and that. But then Pike says, how are you? How is it that you still have your memories? And Zach pretty much reveals, oh, there's something in the castle's concrete that covers them from the radiation. Because we find out it's the radiation from an asteroid that hit the planet hundreds of years ago that's causing the memory loss. That's got all the chemicals coming out of it. So that's what's making people forget. And Pike, as he's pretty much forgotten who he is, prepares to shoot at Zach, and Zach starts to panic, but then remembers who he is before he shoots Zach, and then apologises to Zach and says, listen, I'm sorry I left you here, I didn't mean to, but yeah, you need to face what you've done. And that's how Zach is then captured and taken back to Starfleet. The Doctor manages to get back into the castle as well with La'an, and he finds his equipment, heals La'an, and yeah, they also grabbed Luke, the guy who's been helping them. I forgot to mention the scene where he doesn't want his memories back, because apparently he had a loved one before, and he doesn't want to remember the loved one because he knows he's lost that loved one, and he doesn't want to feel the pain of loss, because pain is still around him, but he just doesn't want to know what it is. But apparently the Doctor managed to take him into the castle, where he starts to remember what happened. He had a son, and he's now happy he remembers his son, because yes, memories are bad sometimes, but they're still an important part of your life, and you should never hide yourself from pain. And I kind of like that in this episode. And then Pike says goodbye to Zach, heads back to the Enterprise. Everybody's pretty much fixed up. I did forget to mention the whole Spock being a moron thing. If they knew that the asteroid field was the thing affecting them, or the planet was the thing affecting them, why did the Enterprise stay so close? Especially in an asteroid field. If the main thing that's happened to your crew, Spock, is they're forgetting shit, and the pilot might forget shit, that might be putting the Enterprise in danger, why didn't you just take the Enterprise out of the system and wait somewhere and then kind of make a plan whilst you all could still remember it? Why stay so close to the planet and put the crew at so much risk? Also, what's her fucking name? Anya. Una, you're the fucking second in command. Why the fuck are you also causing this shit? Again, this is so stupid. Like, she tells Spock they need to stay there, and Spock's like, yes, but if we stay here, we're in danger. So Una should have been, Okay, we'll go somewhere far enough away so it doesn't, affect us, and then we'll come back with a decent plan. That's just fucking dumb. Anyway, back on the Enterprise. Pike's back. Apparently Spock managed to find some shield modifications that blocks them from the radiation from the asteroid. And then Spock asked Pike, is it right that they are now deciding to take that asteroid off the planet that's affecting all the memories? Because isn't this against the Prime Directive? Now, Pike seems to want to defend this and says, well, they never should have had the asteroid on the planet. So what we're doing is we're helping them to evolve. No, Pike, you're breaking the fucking rules, because guess what? If that asteroid had hit yesterday, then you can do that, Pike. If it's a part of their fucking culture where they have got monoliths to the fact that they forget, and you take away the object like that, that's going to fuck up their entire society. So yes, Pike, you are breaking the fucking Prime Directive. Okay, now I'm seriously taking off 2 points. We're going to a 4 now, because that is right. Pike breaks the Prime Directive again. Jesus! You can't just do that. Their culture is surrounded by that fucking fact that they forget. If you take that off, you're going to fuck up their society, and that is not what Starfleet's supposed to do. Fucking hell. So, they take the asteroid off the planet, and then we get the final scene where Pike apologises to his girlfriend, and she forgives him, and that's how the episode ends. Listen, not much was pretty much said. Pike was just apologising for being a moron, and she accepts it. What else do you want me to say? And that's how the episode ends. And yes, I'm pretty pissed off now, because I've just realised, yes, they did break the Prime Directive, because you don't just fucking take the asteroid out of the fucking planet. It's going to affect their culture. Jesus, why does Pike keep breaking the fucking rules? Fucking dickhead. And I'm not saying this is like Picard or Kirk. No, he's breaking the Prime Directive, not to fuck with other cultures if they are not at the warp drive level. That is dumb. Fucking hell. So yes, I'm putting it down to 4. It's a 4 out of 10. Utterly annoyed now. Again, when you're watching the episode, it is kind of boring, and you're kind of letting things go, and you're just kind of enjoying the fact it doesn't piss you off. Then I'm kind of rethinking about it, and it's like, shit, they did piss me off. Unbelievable. So yeah, I'm still going to say it's not a bad episode. It's the best episode so far, but the ending where Pike literally breaks the Prime Directive, for fuck's sake. You could have just let this one little bit at the end not be a fuck up. But yeah, that's the end of my review. 4 out of 10. If you like this video, give it a like. If you dislike this video, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. And you leave a comment, and I will try to get back to it as soon as I can. Entertainment World Soldier. Bye.